I was in my 3rd year of medical school when I moved into the apartment. Cheap rent, walking distance to the hospital, quiet at night. Old building though, sliding closet doors that never fully met in the center. I told myself I wouldn't be there long enough to care. Most nights I studied past midnight. Desk lamp on, notes spread across the floor, coffee cooling beside me. A train passed nearby every 20 minutes. Not loud, just a vibration through the desk. I used it as a timer. Study until the next train, rest when it came. Routine makes long nights manageable. The first time I noticed the gap, I was memorizing pharmacology side effects. The closet door across from my desk left a thin vertical slit, maybe 2 millimeters wide. I looked at it only because I lost focus. Not fear yet, just the faint sensation someone was standing behind me, the same feeling before a professor speaks during rounds. I opened the door. Clothes, boxes, empty floor. I closed it again and returned to my notes. But concentration didn't come back. At 12:40, between trains, a voice spoke beside my ear. Soft, calm. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" I turned immediately. No one. Door locked, window shut, curtains still. I waited for movement in the hallway. Nothing. My eyes drifted to the closet gap. I watched it until the next train passed and the room felt normal again. I told myself I imagined it. The following night, I tried studying earlier. 12:20 passed quietly. At 12:40, "Do you want to play hide and seek?" Same voice, same distance. A tight feeling formed in my chest. I stood and walked toward the closet. The gap looked slightly wider. I opened it. Empty. I aligned the panels carefully and sat down again. My hands didn't stop trembling for several minutes. After that, I noticed every opening in the room. The seam behind the bookshelf, the bathroom cabinet hinge gap, the space behind the headboard. During the day, they were nothing. At night, they felt intentional. I began turning on more lights while studying. 2 nights later, I was reviewing case notes when the voice came again. From the bathroom cabinet. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" The sound was unmistakably behind me. My stomach dropped hard enough to make me nauseous. I didn't want to turn around, but I did. The narrow opening beside the hinge looked deeper than it should. I opened it. Toothbrush, towels, nothing else. I kept the cabinet open the rest of the night. I didn't study anymore. Sleep became impossible. Every time the trains passed, I waited for the silence after, because that was when it spoke. At 1 a.m. beside my pillow, "Do you want to play hide and seek?" I froze. My eyes slowly moved toward the headboard. Earlier, I had moved the bed while cleaning. A narrow slit now existed between the wall and frame. I stared at it until my eyes watered. I didn't blink. I stayed awake until morning light came through the curtains. I tried removing every gap I could. Closet aligned, cabinet tape shut, bed pressed tight against the wall. For one night, nothing happened. I slept for maybe an hour. The next night, from the closet, "Do you want to play hide and seek?" The fear was immediate this time. I couldn't breathe normally. The gap looked wrong. Not open, deep. Like distance existed behind it. My throat tightened. "No," I whispered. Silence. Then softer. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" The darkness shifted. An eye appeared inside the slit, pale skin surrounding it. I stumbled backward into the desk. My legs shook so hard I had to hold the chair to stay upright. "No, no." The eye blinked slowly. I slammed the door shut and pressed my weight against it. A train passed, rattling the panels violently. When it stopped, the gap looked normal again. I didn't turn the light off after that. Not once. I stopped sleeping entirely. I stayed awake until sunrise every day. Even then, I kept the lights on, sometimes from small spaces. Drawer seams, shelf edges. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" I covered them with tape, books, towels. It didn't matter. I felt watched constantly. I moved out within the week. I didn't finish packing neatly, I just left. Before leaving, I checked the closet one last time. Perfectly closed. I turned off the lights and stood at the doorway. From the thin line between door and frame, "Do you want to play hide and seek?" I ran to the elevator. I live somewhere else now. A newer apartment, thicker walls, no sliding doors. I graduated. I work nights at the hospital sometimes, but exhaustion never brings sleep easily anymore. Because darkness isn't empty to me anymore. Every narrow space feels occupied. The seam of a locker, the gap between medical charts on a shelf, the thin line where an elevator door hasn't closed completely. I know they're normal, but I also know what I saw. I don't keep beds against walls. I don't sit facing closets. I never let a room go completely quiet. Not because I still hear it, because I remember how patiently it waited. And even now, years later, when I notice a gap before looking away, for a moment I feel certain that if I stared long enough, it would ask again. I never forgot the first time I answered, and I've never given it another chance to ask.
We bought the house because it was cheap. A rural property outside a small town. 2 floors, old wood structure, enough rooms to turn into a small rental. The agent told us why the price was low. People say it's uncomfortable, he said carefully. My friend laughed, and I agreed. Cheap was cheap. We planned to renovate slowly and list it once the rooms were usable. The first night we stayed there to clean, we slept in the same room upstairs since only one was cleared of dust. Nothing happened. The second night, just after midnight, I woke to a sound from the hallway. Soft dragging, not footsteps, something brushing across the floorboards. I listened for a while, and it stopped. In the morning I mentioned it. My friend said old houses shift at night, and that explanation held for a few days. We worked during the day and stayed overnight to save travel time. Every night the sound returned. Slow dragging along the hallway, always between 2 and 3 a.m. Never reaching the door, never leaving. On the 4th night, the sound stopped directly outside our room. I waited. No knock, no movement, just silence. I opened the door. The hallway was empty. The floor showed no marks.
We started finding small changes. Sliding doors slightly open after we shut them. A closet we emptied filled again with a folded white cloth we hadn't seen before. We threw it away. The next evening, it was back inside the closet, folded the same way. My friend said the previous owners must have left things hidden in the walls. We stopped talking about it after that. One afternoon, we met a neighbor while clearing weeds. He asked if we were staying nights. I said yes. He paused before answering. Keep the upstairs room clean. He didn't explain further. The dragging sound grew longer each night. It started at the far end of the hallway, then halfway, then directly outside the door, then past it. The first time it passed, I felt the air change slightly. Colder, not wind, just different. We didn't open the door again at night. About a week later, my friend woke me. "There's water," she said quietly. A damp mark spread across the tatami near the doorway. No leaks in the ceiling, no rain that night. We dried it and went back to sleep. In the morning, the floor was dry, but the closet held the white cloth again, still folded. I decided to stay awake one night. At 2:14 a.m., the sound began. Slow dragging across wood, closer, then stopping outside the door. The handle didn't move. Instead, I heard fabric shifting on the other side, not breathing, just presence. I didn't open the door. The sound continued down the hallway and stopped near the stairs. A moment later, the stairs creaked once, then silence. We started cleaning the unused back room upstairs, the only space we hadn't touched. The sliding door resisted at first, then opened. Inside was an empty room, except for a low wooden beam and discoloration on the floorboards beneath it. Centered, deliberate. We didn't discuss what it looked like. We cleaned anyway. That night, the dragging sound didn't start in the hallway. It started inside the room we slept in, from the closet. We both heard it. Neither of us opened it. It stopped after several seconds. In the morning, the closet door was open, and the folded white cloth lay on the floor. We searched town records the next day. The clerk recognized the address immediately. He didn't say much, only that a woman had died inside the house long ago, not peacefully. After that, no one stayed long. We returned before dark. We cleaned the back room again and placed the cloth there instead of throwing it away. That night, the sound began earlier. The hallway, then the door, then inside. Something moved slowly across the tatami. We watched the floor. No visible source, but the air lowered in temperature around the doorway. I spoke out loud without planning to. "We're leaving." The sound stopped.
We packed immediately and went downstairs. At the entrance, we turned to lock the interior door. For the first time, I saw movement at the top of the stairs. A figure in white, long hair covering the face, standing still. Not approaching, not reacting, just present. We didn't wait. We stepped outside and closed the door. We never stayed another night. We sold the property months later at a loss. The buyer intended to demolish it. He called once before the work began and asked if we had left anything behind. I asked what he meant. He said workers found a folded white cloth upstairs after clearing the rooms. They threw it out twice. It returned each morning. I told him it wasn't ours. He didn't call again. Sometimes at night I wake around the same time, between 2 and 3 a.m. I don't hear dragging anymore, but occasionally I notice the closet door slightly open before I remember closing it. And once, inside my apartment, far from that town, I found a piece of white cloth folded on a shelf I never use. I left it there. I don't touch it, and I don't move it. Whatever waited in that house, it's still out there, somewhere.